there's basically no intro for this show.
Oh.
It's just you're Brad Edwards. And
I'm Brad Edwards.
Gary Fletcher is back there on the ones and twos.
Are we doing it? Is it happening?
I guess so.
I feel like we're going to talk for 2 hours, and then Gary's going to be like, "Oh, guys, I didn't push." Were we starting?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm already terrified of that. I feel like I've already.
Yeah.
That's
well,
okay,
as long as it's flashing, the little blue light's flashing, it should be fine.
It's not flashing.
Oh.
It is. I'm just
Okay. Well, yeah. So.
Yeah.
Oh, this microphone just fell.
See, already off to a bad start.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Brad Edwards. We talked about this for a long time. Yeah, having you on my podcast.
It's finally happening.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on your podcast, buddy.
Yeah, no
in your
problem.
lovely fallout shelter.
Thanks.
In your beautiful home with your lovely wife and your beautiful child.
Thank you.
Great cat.
Yeah.
John's got it all, guys.
I got one bad cat though.
But it doesn't live inside.
That's
so
true,
it's like everything's very user friendly.
Yeah.
In John's world, so that's good.
Yeah. So far, it's all going to come just tumbling down.
The whole world
soon,
is. Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
The whole world is.
That's the problem with this podcast is it's not going to be timeless because this is how many days after the election? Well, whenever this is dropped.
Yeah. Well, now that I've got this new setup, I've been putting them out like within a couple of 3 days.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So.
Okay. Anyway,
but still, it's pretty crazy now.
We're like day 3. What is of Trump's America?
Yeah, Trump plus 3 or 4 or something.
Oh boy. Yeah.
I'll tell you, Facebook though, this has been a lot of fun.
Facebook's been out of control.
Yeah.
Facebook is really. I mean, I'm sad. You know, I didn't want Trump to win. I didn't. No, it was a thing that was election between the worst person in the world and the second worst person in the world.
Right.
It was like no one liked Hillary, no one liked Trump, and I don't think anyone, even Trump's people, thought he would win.
No.
And, I mean, I think a lot of that it's a rigged system. I think that was kind of laying groundwork, kind of covering their asses for when they expected to lose.
So keep that whatever that energy was going. I think that's a good way to put it because either whatever side you're on, basically one of them is the worst person and the other one is the second worst.
Right. But I don't think it was a weird election because I mean there were people who loved Hillary and there were people who loved Trump, but it was most of the people voting were kind of holding their nose and just, well, I'm going to do this for my party or I'm going to do,
right.
I think that a lot of people who voted for Hillary voted because they didn't want Trump, and a lot of people who voted for Trump just didn't like, liberals. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think there was that many people who liked Trump. They just sort of like, you know what? Trump pisses off all the people I hate. Trump, Trump makes, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I just think that a lot of people were just like, let's blow it all up,
Yeah, yeah.
And here we are. I don't know.
See what happens. Yeah. I mean, I was surprised too. I mean, I'm in like a weird spot because I'm kind of, I'm in the middle.
You're libertarian, right?
I mean, I don't consider myself one, but for the most part. Yeah. I'm I'm sort of all over the map, but, I kind of like the idea of just kind of leave people alone as long as they're not, hurting other people. Right. Just kind of leave them alone, but you still have, weird things with guns. They shoot out bullets that can hurt other people.
Well, yeah, you like,
so
you like guns.
Yeah, I do. So that makes it complicated, and you can't. All issues don't fit into that nice little box. Like, as long as you're not hurting anybody.
Right. But that's the whole world. Is we take everybody and put them on one side or the other of this line.
Yeah.
And say you have to hate the other side. And it's like I don't know anyone who is a Republican who checks every box of a Republican. Right. Like you can't tell me that every abortion that's ever been had has been had by a Democrat. You know what I mean? You can't tell me that everyone who owns a gun is a Republican. But there are these issues where this is automatically a Republican thing or this is automatically a Democrat thing, and
it's like I see
it's not how the world works.
Yeah, and I see it like with race, like in the like in the gun industry. Like a lot of black people that like guns are afraid to go out and do like things that most gun people do, like go to gun shows and things like that because they feel like they're going to be scrutinized. They're like, what's that guy doing here? You know what I mean?
I think that, we don't know what the black experience is. And I don't imagine they're all making it up when they say it's different, and I think that when you see like the guys who take a machine gun into Denny's on principle and they're walking around like, well, it's my right. And those are white guys. Right. Like, I don't think a black guy.
No,
it would be dangerous for him to just walk around with a machine gun, and start spouting about his rights and stuff. It wouldn't go down the same.
Yeah,
but I mean, we're all people. This is what I think, and this is made up. Everything I say is just nonsense I make up. Right?
Me too. So,
but I'll do it anyway. My belief is that human beings kind of break one way or another, like kind of left or right. Like some people just empathize with the liberal point of view, and some people have a more conservative point of view. And I think it takes everybody to make the world go round. And I think that the brain power we have, we just use that to justify the feelings we have. Like I think that when people are presented with facts or what, it doesn't sway them at all. They feel what they feel. Everybody knew who they wanted to vote for. No emails, no grabbing anythings, none of these things that came up really moved the needle.
Right.
And people did what they feel how they feel and use their brain to justify. Right. Like I don't think you can attack any of it with logic.
No, and I think part of how we get someone like Trump in office, well, there's probably a lot of reasons, but I think one of them is that divide has gotten so big.
Yeah.
And a lot of like middle America, like people who live in rural environments, they feel like everyone who doesn't, looks at them like, they're all stupid or like that they don't matter. So like you were saying earlier, like people that voted for Trump, it was kind of like an FU to liberals because they feel like
it was.
They all hate me,
Yeah.
But like
why
there's no reason for that.
Why wouldn't you feel that way if all you hear from liberals is that you're stupid, is that you're wrong? And but
there's no reason why it has to be that way, because
the reason it's that way, I think, is because politics makes it that way. Because
Right.
if you want to win the election and there's nothing really great about you, the only way to gin up enthusiasm is to say, what a piece of crap this person is. This person's going to ruin. How could the two major parties, no matter who you're rooting for, how could one of them be wanting to destroy America?
Right,
That's retarded. No one wants, we all want the same thing. We all want the world to be better. We just have different opinions on what that means and how to get there. But you have to, but you can't win an election being nice, like
you have to be extreme to some
extent. Or you don't get to have, or you don't get a position of power to try to change anything.
Right.
It's like they're talking about, well, we need to get rid of the Electoral College because Hillary got more votes, which is ridiculous to me that someone gets more votes, but they don't win.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to Gore. And, it's like the Electoral College, I don't quite get it. It's
I know, like, it's kind of, as far as I understand, the idea behind it is to give people more say in less populated areas.
To have which makes some sense.
Which is part of the divide in our country is like people who live in less populated areas have like a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
And people who let me give you an example, like on a state level. Like Illinois is a perfect example. Most people that live in Illinois are they're outdoorsmen, they hunt, they shoot, they're outside in the woods all the time. But their gun laws are like very strict there because of Chicago. So what makes sense to people who live in Chicago affects everyone else. So I think like the Electoral College was an attempt to try to eliminate that from happening in the whole country.
Yeah.
But I don't think it works necessarily.
I don't think it works nowadays, and I also think it was created in a time when you got the results from election after some dude rode on horseback for 2 days to bring you, so it's like they kind of divided up into areas and stuff.
So even with just a popular vote election, it's it may not be that different now. I don't know.
I don't know, and I think that I can get it. I can get how like different people have different lives. Like I think if you live in a city, the government means a different thing to you because the government has the buses that you ride and the streets and but if you live out in the country, all the government ever really does is like get in your way, kind of make you have to get some permit or do something. And so that's all the government is to you if you're kind of more self-sufficient.
Right.
But it's both. It's America's made of both, and
there's got to be, I wish there was some way that's like, both parties could kind of get sort of what they want. Like the thing I tell people with guns is like, and I try to be reasonable about it. I get why some people don't like the idea of certain people owning guns, but from my perspective, I know that I can handle it. Like I know that I can handle owning machine guns. I can handle owning all that stuff. So if I can handle it, then I feel like there's other people who also can. So how do we figure out for me to do that?
Honestly, you know me. I don't have any guns. I cut the tip of my finger off because I got a knife.
Oh, I went and handed you that huge knife.
Oh, yeah, I got a buck knife. I went on the internet and researched like the perfect knife because I camp. I was like, I need a good knife, and I'm like trying to work the kink out of it.
Yeah.
And it closed on my finger and chopped off the tip of my finger.
Oh,
and one time,
that's right. The open mic you mentioned about it.
I
forgot about that.
And this is a personal thing about guns with me. Gary, you may remember this. You remember when I was doing the magician, the Amazing Fantastico?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I used to do this bit where I used to try in comedy. I was like, I'm going to try to do an act where I don't speak, right? I'm going to try to get lashed out speaking. So I did this Fantastico where I would do like all these balloon animals, and it was okay, mixed reviews. And one of the things is I had this cape, excuse me, and in the sleeves of the cape were these confetti cartridges, and I'd pop and confetti would shoot out. So I went to this like specialty store. I got these confetti shooters, and I'm going down the road and I'm like pop shooting confetti out the window.
Yeah. And
I'm driving and like I'm pop and it won't shoot, and I'm like, what is with this thing? And boom, and I blasted myself in the face with confetti. And like earlier that week I was thinking I should get a gun, and I was like, no, I should never have a gun. Because personally, Brad shouldn't have a gun because I would shoot myself in the head because I'm just clumsy and it's too dangerous for me. And honestly, if I could flip a switch and make all guns disappear, I would do it. But we live in a world where there are already guns,
Right.
And so you can't really take them away at this point, Like, how would you even do it?
Yeah, and that's the thing I've heard from people. Of course, it's different for me than it is for you because I grew up with them. So it's not just the Second Amendment.
No, I had him around. I mean, my old man was a cop. He had a gun. And
But I mean, as far as like for me, it's like a thing I do for fun,
right?
So there's two elements. But from people, I've heard that they don't have that, and they just think, like, how do we get rid of gun violence? That's the only thing. Guess, I've heard people say that before. Like, unless you are going to get rid of basically all of them, then how is it going to have any impact?
Here's another, and this may be generalizing, but I feel like most of my conservative friends don't like welfare because they're like, people take advantage of welfare. Lazy people use welfare, and they don't deserve it, and I'm paying for it, and that's not fair. Right. And I think that is a point because there is some percentage of the people on welfare who could make their own money. But there's also little children who get food. And to me, if some people are freeloading the system, it's worth. I'm willing to pay that price to take care of the people who need welfare, right? And on the flip side of that, I think that there are people who, like people like guns, but some people are like, well, some people use the guns to kill a whole lot of people and shoot up schools and all this stuff. And although that's true, that's also a small percentage of the people who have guns.
Right.
But the people who have guns feel like, well, that's kind of a price. You can't come out and say it, but it's like, that's a price I'm willing to pay to have my guns, is that sometimes people will abuse it. The way some people abuse welfare, some people abuse having guns. And I'm just saying that because they're kind of, maybe it's a way for people to see the other person's point of view.
Like with drugs, I want to end the drug war. It's some people are going to maybe overdose, but
there's a difference between drug use and drug abuse. I was like, I know a lot of people who do it. I know very few people who shouldn't do any drugs at all, like because most of the ones who are dead. But like like I mean, I've had friends OD, I've had friends die, but like I don't think that means no one should. You know what I mean? Right. Like, I mean, if that's your basis for something, no one should do anything.
Right. And with guns, I can get behind this idea that there are certain people that we don't want to have guns, but figuring out who those people are is what makes it so difficult.
Well, and that kind of gets into the thing is I think there really is such a lobby for guns that you can't even have that conversation. Like there's no environment for you to
like on our side. Like speaking for my side of things, like they tried to ban stuff for so many years or so long. It's like we're afraid to give anything because then it's like, well, we'll never get that back.
Right.
And
the truth is, and the truth is at least. If I was running things, I would come in that way. I would do it bit by bit, like you can't just come and take everyone's guns. But I'm not even for coming and taking everyone's guns. I just, let's act like it's a real thing. We're not even allowed to study how many people get shot.
Yeah.
And we're not allowed to even look into it,
Well, Well, yeah,
and it's like you can't even get. Like with the thing where, like, in Florida, they're not allowed to say climate change if they work for the kids. Like, if you can't even get the conversation started.
Yeah. Anytime someone's trying to hide truth, there's something wrong there.
And that's not a strictly conservative or a liberal, that's everybody. But, yeah, I feel like it'd
be nice if there was more of a conversation. And I enjoy talking with people that don't necessarily support gun rights like I do, because it's kind of fun. I get to, I'm not like a lot of gun people. I'm actually capable of having those conversations. Not being angry.
Yeah, you can have and you're a comic, so you have kind of an outlet to make a point and have fun. I know I haven't said anything funny this whole damn thing. I've been I was so furious that Trump's president. Have I made that clear? I don't want Trump to be president, but that's where we are. Yeah. I don't know. I wonder how many people, how I hate to, this is everything everyone else has ever talked about. This is like nothing new, but like when people were talking about Brexit, like I don't think anyone really thought that would go through. And I don't think anyone really thought this would happen.
Yeah.
And here we are.
You know? I was shocked, and I kind of had mixed feelings about it, because it's like, well, my guns are safe. That makes me feel good. But this person is not, a very moral person. It's not someone that I would have definitely chosen to be in office, and I necessarily agree on a lot of things. I like that he says he's going to support the Second Amendment, but it's not.
He says a lot of shit. Who knows? Yeah. I mean, and this is another thing. I'm worried that even the people who wanted him, now that they got him, I feel like they're going to be, because the whole election, the whole thing, it'd be like, hey, you said that it's smart not to pay your taxes. No, I never said that. It's like you said. This guy's a piece of... No, I never said... He would say... He didn't say a thing.
Right.
And now that he's... people are going to go, all right, hey, let's build that wall. I never said I was going to build a wall.
Yeah.
He's going to do that to you guys.
Right.
And
well, don't say...
Not you. Well, you know what I mean. Well, he's going to do that to the people who wanted him.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know how many of them even really wanted a wall. I think they just were like...
They like the idea
I hate this world I live in. And I was telling Gary, I went to Panera, and I was... looking in the cookies, and it was like a gluten conscious raisin, and I was like, oh God, go to hell. I was like, this is why because there's a gluten conscious cookie. That's why Trump won. I don't know how or why that's why, but it is somehow.
Yeah, it is, because
it's just insufferable.
Yeah, some people have been saying, I've actually heard this on both sides, and with a different tone, is saying how Trump is like punishment for everyone for not, working together.
Well, and he
kind of is.
Yeah. But what else is sad is that now politicians, all they want to do is win, and now they see a new winning formula is to be Trump. He won.
Yeah.
There's not going to be less Trumpness. It's just going to get worse. And the next time around, there's going to be an even Trumpier Trump, and if that's possible. Although I wonder, because Trump's sort of like this. The weird thing about this one was like there was no getting to know you stage, like when Obama and McCain, like oh yeah, McCain, I've heard of him. He's Obama. What's his story? You had to learn about him and stuff. But like everyone knew who Trump was.
Right.
I mean, everyone knew. Am I peeking? I'm sorry. I'm screaming. Like,
I think it's fine.
Everyone knew who Hillary Clinton was. I mean, there was no.
And no one through the whole thing, no one even they're like, oh, that's weird that Trump is making it this far, but no one really thought he was going to make it.
No one did. I don't think he did. I really don't think he expected it. I and this is like everything just out of my ass. I think he was like, publicity stunt. I'll parlay this into Trump TV. Yeah. I'll start my own network. And now he's like, oh Jesus, what? Like now he did it.
Yeah. I've noticed that his attitude has changed a little bit. Have you seen him? Did you see him when he talked to Obama?
Oh yeah.
It was
night and day.
Yeah, very different.
And for Obama too. I mean, they were both a week before ripping into each other.
Yeah. I've got a conspiracy theory about Trump.
Oh yeah. I love him. Let's hear it.
No, I don't necessarily believe it, but it's a thought that I had.
Yeah.
So like for the past several years, especially since the internet, people have been trusting the government less and less and less and less, and trusting elections a lot less, and then just having a lot less faith in just the entire system, which is part of what helped Trump get elected. But if you're going with the theory that presidents are fake and that it's like a decision from someone else, and there's no real election,
Illuminati.
Exactly. Yeah. That Trump basically was a way to be like, no, it's all real.
Yeah,
right? It's all real.
Well, yeah, that's a good. There's something to that. I have some theories, and they're all theories that are not possibly true.
Right.
I was thinking, well, the Illuminati or whoever's running stuff was like, okay, if we don't put Trump in, the Trump supporters are going to start a civil war. Like, I know a lot of people are like making fun of all the crybaby protesters about Trump. You can't tell me that if Trump had lost, there'd be no protest. There's no way.
Because
there'd be
the rigging thing. Yeah.
Oh, it would have been a bloodbath. Something would have happened.
Yeah.
I know something would have happened. But whatever. So I think that's not true, obviously. But I was like, maybe they're like, But I also think that there's something to the pendulum theory that it's liberal this week. Next week it's got to be, because if you deprive either side of power for long enough, they'll revolt. I think that maybe that there is some kind of nebulous, maybe not something with a mind, maybe just something, some force or some, something that tide that moves the whole thing left or right. But like Neil deGrasse Tyson has this way to explain climate to people, the difference between climate and weather, right? And here's the analogy. There's a guy walking down the beach and he has a dog on a leash, and the dog kind of goes back and forth, right? And now that's weather. Sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's hot, like that. But the way the guy is climate. So whatever, he can be going a certain direction, and although the dog kind of moves around a little bit, like next year may be colder than this year, but that doesn't mean that it's not getting warmer overall, right? And I think there's something to that with politics. Like, I think that this is kind of a backlash. This is kind of a thing, but I think overall we're kind of getting more liberal. Like the whole world is kind of moving in that direction, and it's swinging around a little bit. I don't know. Again, everything I say is just out of my.
I honestly think that there's gonna be, if things move in a good direction, I think like a compromise that could end up happening is that like the liberal side wins on social issues, and then conservatives I do feel like are going to win on guns, just because there's a lot of crossover, and I feel like that's such a hard fight, for that side. I feel like there may be a little push and pull that happens, but I think for the most part guns are gonna are gonna be fine.
Guns are dangerous, and it's terrible when there's a big mass shooting or something like that, but that's all that gets attention, and they don't all get attention. Every now and then, 1 out of every 5 is a big thing that they make a big deal out of.
Well, and it's kind of like mass shootings are kind of like a plane crash. They have even though it's super rare, it has more effect on everyone. It's
so hard to
terrible.
And it's always been so hard to justify. It's always been like the one thing the liberals go, see, this is what you get from your guns. Until a couple years ago, around Sandy Hook, is when the NRA started doing if there were more guns, this wouldn't happen, which is a stroke of genius to be like, no, there's not enough guns.
Yeah.
That's what we need. But
which that idea is a little bit in a vacuum, because like if everyone was like me, let's say, at least, not that I'm any type of hotshot commando, I just know how to shoot guns to an extent, then we probably would be safer, but everyone is not like that.
No. I know a lot of situations that, like, here's one. We were doing an open mic. You remember this. And then, what was his name, Gary? The crazy guy who was coloring?
Oh, man, yeah.
Charlie. Oh, you weren't there that night? All right, guys, internet. There was this night I was doing an open mic, and John had come out to try out some material. John's a very funny guy. You should see his stand-up. Do you have any stand-up out?
I have some online, yeah.
Okay. Well, then you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, there's this guy sitting in the front row, and he's like, he's just a jackass, right? Yeah. And he's ruining the show, kind of goes on. Then he gets violent, as in he gets up, he gets blah, 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 it looked like it was going to be a fight or something. John Hickok just kind of stands behind him, and then the guy just sort of shuts up because John's a huge guy. And like, no guns were pulled out, no, you know what I mean? Nothing like that. But like, I can see nights like that where if he'd have had a gun and you'd have had, someone would have died or something. You know what I mean? Maybe not that night. That he wasn't he was just a goofball.
Well, like, I'm not going to say whether I had or didn't have one.
Well, but you know what I'm saying? Like I don't think I don't think more guns.
Yeah, well, I guess.
But you didn't go to the gun, is what I'm saying.
Right.
That wasn't your problem solver. Not that you even know what a gun is. I'm just saying hypothetically.
But
that's not how it went down.
Right, and I think it depends on the situation. Like if he had pulled out a gun and started shooting people, then someone not having a gun there already.
Right, but more people it's sort of like a chicken and the egg thing. It's like, but if it was harder for him to get a gun, then he wouldn't have had a gun. But then he has a gun, and then you need another gun to get rid of the gun, and then who gets rid of the guy with the gun with the gun?
Right.
You know,
like it kind of. And again, I think it depends on the type of shooting. If it's a random thing, like a guy getting mad, like let's say you some magic switch and guns are way harder to get.
Right.
So it would help eliminate the random guy getting angry and having access to a gun and shooting a bunch of people. But as far as the guy that, like these terrorists, like the Orlando shooting, like a person who makes a cold, calculated decision, they want to kill as many people as possible. Then they'll buy one from overseas, they'll make one, they'll use a bomb or something.
We already live in a country where you could get to proclaim tomorrow that guns are illegal. There's still all these guns everywhere. Yeah. I mean, people do illegal stuff all the time. I get it. I don't think that there's anything you can do to stop it. I just think that like maybe we could do what we could do to minimize the violence of a gun.
I've had this, and people will get angry at me for bringing it up sometimes, but I've always had this.
People get angry at everything.
Oh, they do, yeah. I've always had this idea that's kind of like, to me, a kind of an in-between of like an actual compromise, not a just we lose more of our rights, like where both sides get something. Yeah. So the universal background check is a thing that Hillary has talked about a lot. So one of the problems with just a universal background check, which what that means is when you talk about the gun show loophole, what that is like for example, as long as you're not a felon, if I wanted to sell you this gun right here, I can.
Right.
You can just hand me the cash right now. We can do it on camera. There's nothing illegal about it. And that's what the gun show loophole is. It's because there's people there who like guns, so they also sell guns. So it's it's private transfer that happens in these places. So the universal background check, the whole idea is that if I wanted to sell you this gun, what we'd have to do is we'd have to wait until a gun shop was open. And we'd go there, you would go through your background check, and then I would sell you the gun. So it makes transfer more complicated, and the only way to enforce it would be if you had a registry so the government knew about every single gun that existed. Yeah. So that's the fundamental problem, just like logistically.
I can see why people wouldn't want to do that.
Right. But now I have like a counter to that. So instead of making the guns the registered thing, I make it more consistent with the way we do other things, is it's the person that's registered, and you have like a permit. So like, for example, I would go through a series of background checks that would make me eligible to purchase certain classes of firearms.
Like driving a big rig or something. You can't just do it. You have to have...
you could classify them like, bolt actions are D class, and semi-automatic rifles are B, and then machine guns are like A class. Right. And it's sort of something like that already anyway. Yeah. But so then I apply for that permit. I have a clean record. I get the permit. So then I just walk into a shop, no background check or anything. That's what I want. Yeah. Okay, you're card. This person. Yeah. Then you get to have the gun. And if you want to sell a gun to somebody else, make sure you got your card. And then there's no registry because people are worried about a registration because of like Nazi Germany, where the government comes around and takes them up and stuff.
Okay, well, here's my counter to that. Absolutely nothing. We can't, absolutely nothing. That's how the gun conversation goes. Where you can't even... That was fine for us to have that talk, but no, you couldn't even have that talk. And Congress isn't going to even let you do it, So, and it's that inflexibility that makes people mad. But like you said, you give them an inch and then they'll take a mile, and so there's no winning. And
I made people angry probably with that, or even suggesting something like that.
Yeah, no, I know. I don't read comment sections. It's it's just not worth it. But it's all good. No, yeah, and I was never really... I never liked guns. I never liked hunting. Or, I was never into it. And I can understand it being a thing. Some people are into cars. Yeah. Some people are into... I collect action figures. Yeah. It's like different things.
Well, like this rifle right here, it was used in World War I. So it's like the gun it's probably the oldest thing I have in my house.
Oh, wow, really?
100 years old. Jeez. 1917. So it's kind of like... So that's one thing that makes a gun like that neat, because it's like, wow, some person had this like over in Europe, and all the scratches on it and
well,
all that.
You know, and for everything I said, I still, you know, I'm not even like I wouldn't get a gun or anything. You know, like I don't know. Like I want to, you know, like my dream is like build a cabin out in the woods and stuff. But if I'm out there, I'll want something, just for critters, just for, you know, if I go outside and there's a raccoon on my porch, well, I wouldn't shoot a raccoon, but, you know, like a monster, Gary, a monster could show up, and a Bigfoot.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's all these different levels. Like, you know, I get people, they're not comfortable carrying a handgun around town, but
I'm not, mainly, even though that's probably, I don't know, I just feel like
but at least
I'd kill myself, you know, whether I just be sad one day, or I would just be goofing off.
Yeah, well, maybe this is a bad example, but so it probably is.
I want to hear it.
I don't use a case on my phone. Right?
Okay,
I don't have a case for my phone.
Yep,
like it was going so.
You live dangerous.
Yeah, I do. But my wife has like an OtterBox for her iPhone, and she was saying like, I don't know how you do that. I drop mine all the time.
Yeah,
and I was like, it's because you have a case. Like,
I see.
You know what I mean? Like I don't have a case on my phone, so I'm like super careful with it. I mean, I'm like a ninja with my phone.
Maybe
you know?
I feel like if I shot myself once, just a little bit, I'd be really careful. Like when I'm really careful with my knife now.
Yeah.
Like now, this is a reminder. It's like you tie a string on your finger. I don't have a finger to tie a string on because I'm just like, well, I'll just be really careful with my knife. So maybe I shoot like a pinky toe off or something.
Yeah, like get like a bulletproof vest, you know.
Right, yeah. But I like a friend of my brother's. They were sitting on the sofa one day, and he was cleaning his gun. Boom! Shot a hole through his arm.
Yeah.
And if he had been right-handed, he'd have shot my brother.
Yeah.
And I remember I knew this guy Glenn, who was a friend of mine, and we were sitting around, and he was a gun guy, but he was like. He'd sit there and drink moonshine out of a jar and then talk to you waving the gun like Italian, you know, with his, not that Italians have guns, but Italians are animated speakers. Yeah. Like those mafia guys from Mafia Land.
Yeah.
And he would talk and I was like, I'm going home. I don't want to, you know, it's going to be Pulp Fiction. You're going to be talking and then blow my head off. And that's the thing is
and I've seen people that do that. I can't even say that.
And and I worked with a guy who was, he told me the story. I wouldn't tell anyone the story, but he was doing the pointing the gun in the mirror, talking, you looking at me kind of stuff. And he shot through the mirror into his neighbor's apartment.
Oh, man.
And I didn't kill anybody, but, you know, it's like, God, that's just people.
Yeah.
I don't have any faith in people. I don't want people to have guns. I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of people. That's another thing about the mass shooting stuff. It's terrible, but it's this much of the people who are getting killed with guns. You know, it's gang violence and it's suicide and it's accidents and stuff.
And suicide.
Yeah.
I've always thought that because basically the way the stats kind of roughly it's around 30,000 a year, give or take. And 60% roughly, or 2/3 is suicide, and then the rest of it. You know, I think is mostly gang violence, but
I think if I killed myself, I'd use a gun.
I would too.
I mean, well, of course you would. If you didn't, I'd be like, this is bullshit. Well, you know, like, I'd be disappointed.
Yeah. Or in one of those grenades over there.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. But I feel like if you want to kill yourself, kill yourself. I don't want to remove people's right to kill themselves.
Well, that's an area too that, like, you know, some people that are anti-gun will say that stat matters, but maybe I don't think it does really, because I mean you made that decision on your own. I mean, it's easier to kill yourself with a gun. It's more available.
It's easier. I think if I didn't kill myself with a gun, I'd probably. I don't know, pills or something.
Yeah. The old car in the garage thing. That's not bad.
That feels slow. That feels like if you're in there, not that I've thought about it a bunch of times, but I feel like you'd be sitting in there and you'd start to black out. You're like, no, maybe I don't want to do this. Or like, oh my God, like we had a friend last year, Craig Smith. I don't know talk about this is rude to talk about, but he jumped off a building and killed himself.
That seems like
imagine jumping off a. Oh, dude!
I guarantee you regret it as soon as.
Oh my God!
There's no point in
I can't even think about it, man. It's like.
I bet you how it goes is like at the beginning you're like just horrified at what you've done, and then when you get near the bottom you just accept it.
There has to be some. I wonder though, because I mean, it's
in
so
your mind's
it's
probably going
fast.
so fast.
Yeah.
You probably go through so many stages.
Oh, Jesus. Can you imagine anything?
Before, it actually wasn't that bad.
Yeah, VR.
Oh, Gary, before we came over, Gary hooked me up in VR for the first time, which is where we're going to live for the next 4 years, just in a virtual reality. I was like, it's going to be Black Mirror, where I'm just going to have my whole house is just be a padded room where I'm VR, and then I take it off and I go out into the real world where there's just sirens and smoke, and like it's like when Marty McFly went to the dystopian future or something. It's like, oh god, and then I go back to VR where I'm like riding dinosaurs and I don't care.
Like there was a movie had Bruce Willis in it. I think it was Surrogates. Is that what it's called? Where they were like,
oh yeah,
it didn't do that well, I don't think, in the box office. But
no,
it was kind of interesting.
It was weird because I had written a story years ago, like in high school. I'd written a story about that basically.
Yeah,
and I wanted to do something with it, and then I kind of after The Matrix came out, that was sort of too much the same. Where because my idea was like everyone lived in like these little glass jars, like a fetus, and their brain was going into little robots that went out in the world and lived their lives for them. Kind of, right, yeah. And that's basically what which I guess it wasn't that original idea because 6 other people came up with it. But like, but yeah, I was like, that's what it's going to be. I think we're just gonna tune out of this world.
That's a bad thing. We're just making our bodies better. You know?
No, what's the difference? You know, who cares?
Probably what we're already doing, honestly.
Oh yeah. Well, I played this one game on Gary's thing where like you go into this game and then to get back out of it, you have to like you go level after level after level deeper into this game, and to get out of it, you have to kill yourself. Like you kill yourself, you chop your head off in one, you dump acid on yourself, and your bomb blows up, and then like when you get out of the last one, you know, you're like, do I kill myself? Like you're in the real world and you're like, oh wait, I gotta stop killing myself. It's like when you used to play Grand Theft Auto and then you're like, well, I can't run over people. I gotta remember to not run over real people.
Oh, you know, that'll be a thing, is like the line will blur, you know.
I wonder, that's bound to happen sooner or later. Have you watched Black Mirror?
No, I've heard about it.
Dude, you should watch Black Mirror. That's all it's about, is like basically it's like Twilight Zone for
That's what I was told, but it's like more depressing.
It's more depressing and it's a little sadder because I'm sure in the future it'll be funny to think that, oh, they were worried about iPhones or what, you know, being whatever. But like, because stuff that like seemed horrific in like, what's the Orwell book? Yeah. Well, what if there were cameras everywhere? Well, there are cameras everywhere. Nobody cares. You know, I mean, it helps us, you know, like,
I think eventually, you know, few hundred years down the road, people are just gonna have to give up on this idea of privacy.
Yeah,
likely. Even it doesn't matter how hard do we try to protect it. We can hang on to it for a while now.
Yeah,
but eventually there'll be a point where it's just like
we are at this blurry zone where I feel like maybe a little bit this next generation, but pretty soon, someone leaking, you know, like some whatever naked pics or something like that, or something you said on an email won't be a deal buster anymore, especially after Trump, where he did whatever. And it's like, it's just people are like, well, cast the first stone. Whoever hasn't done or said something, like I have private like texts with Gary that like, if anyone saw it, they would think I'm the most horrible person in the world. But it's like we were talking about the meta humor. Like when you're a comic, you have like this green room humor where you say things to other comics that's so filthy and so just over the top, just because you have to one up it so much just to even get any effect out of it.
Even
like
at an open mic, I would be horrified if someone had footage of me, some of the things I've said.
Oh yeah, because
you know?
it's just open mics, and I feel like that should be respected. You know, that people are just doing stuff, and it's like chefs, like real fancy Iron Chef chefs. They're cooking with like sea urchins and rare truffles and all this stuff. They're not going to make a grilled cheese sandwich. They're bored with that. So it's like it takes so much to even be interesting to them.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, and that's not exclusively comics. I guess regular people in the real life have a close enough bond to where, all right, you know, I'm kidding around. Like if I'm talking to one of my black friends and I say the N-word, he knows I'm kidding and I'm doing it to make fun of someone who would say the N-word. I wouldn't say it.
Like, you know, like, well, and plus there's like, especially with like racist things, it's such a taboo.
Right.
And of course, most people,
that's the joke,
they care about other people. They're not racist, but there's something like fulfilling about with your buddy that you're close with saying something that's like racist. And you know it's a joke. Because
that's the joke, is that like it's satire. You're doing a character who's so stupid they would say this racist thing. Or they'd be so like Daniel Tosh. Like he'll say something really racist, but it's because he's sort of Daniel Tosh is a guy who he's so privileged he doesn't even get that he's saying a wrong thing necessarily.
Yeah.
You know, like he's just saying this matter of fact thing.
Yeah.
But
like didn't he get in trouble for making some rape joke or something?
He got in trouble for making some rape joke, which is another thing. That's like it's weird. It's weird. Like this is back to Trump a little bit. Like I think Trump did and said a lot of the stuff he did because he was Trump. You know what I mean? Like if Howard Stern had said the rape joke Daniel Tosh said, no one would care.
Right.
Oh, Howard Stern. If South Park had said, grab him by the pussy, no one would care because, well, that's South Park. That's what
Right.
But if Modern Family had done it, it'd be like, what? Take him off the,
Yeah.
And I think people are sort of like, Trump said this thing. I know that's not the point you were making right then, but it's reminding me of that, where he's sort of like,
another thing too,
people are like, it's how he's doing.
And one thing too about Trump, he's such an anomaly of a human being. If you think about it, literally probably about as famous as a person can get, especially now.
Yeah, now.
About as famous as you get, and also about as wealthy as you get. So
he's an anomaly because he's on the one hand he's liberal. He does a lot of real liberal stuff.
Yeah.
On the other hand, he's conservative. He's this standard bearer for the moral community. He's a garbage person. He's disgusting. He has no respect for anybody. I mean, he's this moral guy who's been married 3 times, all this stuff, which is fine if you're married 3 times. But I'm saying, how is he the guy? And also, on the one hand, he's this millionaire. But also, he's gone bankrupt 8 times. How are you a millionaire? And I don't never understood that.
Yeah,
how are you rich and broke at the same time? He's like the worst businessman in the world, but also the best known businessman in the world. It's like I think
it's kind of like if you or like if you're gambling and you have $50, you might be down to like 5 at one point, back up to 60.
Yeah,
it's kind of like he's just gambling with way more money.
Yeah,
so it kind of
it's weird. Well, he's also gambling with other people's money.
Yeah.
Like investors and stuff, which he screws. And that's another weird thing. He's supposed to be this guy for the little man, and you've never heard a story from anyone who had a business deal with him where he didn't cheat them.
Well,
he's not. Oh, I love making deals. It's like, no, you like cheating people.
Yeah.
You can't say I'm going to give you $20,000 for your services, and when time to pay, you say I'm going to give you $5,000. That's not a deal. That's ripping someone off.
To be that successful, you almost. I mean, I hate to say that, but I think you almost have to be
right.
Like
I think it's sad though that you have to do it on other people's backs like that.
It's weird too. Dad and I were actually talking about this he did the last podcast about how it's weird that you go into these, at least like 10 years ago or even more recently, you go into rural areas, really rural areas, and someone like Trump to come through there, if they didn't know who he was, they beat him up.
Oh, he's a New Yorker.
New Yorker with money. Like, what are you doing around here?
It's weird, but when you go back and look at who his competition was in the primaries, which was 18 dudes. I mean, it was so many.
A bunch of them.
It was a joke, and he was the one. It was like if on American Idol, the first couple rounds they kind of vote like the goofball. They're like, let's just vote this guy through.
Yeah.
And it was like that. It's like that just kept going. They're like, Ben Carson's ridiculous. Yeah, Trump. And it was sort of a. Yeah, well, I don't know, man. I mean, but we're on it now.
Rand Paul was the one that I liked.
For obviously, I mean, I don't know. I liked Bernie. I wanted Bernie.
Yeah.
I feel like Bernie got cheated. I feel like
he did for sure.
He got muscled out. I've had this argument with a million people. I think that they had made their mind up after Hillary in 2008 when Hillary backed down so Obama could take the primary. I think there was some backdoor deal, which is how the way it works, where they're like, all right, you don't get this turn.
Right.
We'll all back you up next time. And made her Secretary of State, did all these things, and it was just to groom her to be the president.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter what the people wanted. And the people wanted Bernie. Didn't matter. She started out with 500 what are those nominees with the electoral delegates or whatever. And before they even started, that's not fair. And when they WikiLeaked the stuff, they were like, and there people are talking about, well, technically it's not illegal. It's like, no, the DNC was not supposed to pick a winner. They were supposed to listen to what the people wanted and do it. Every time there was some tween coin toss. Hillary won. You know, and I mean, you don't win 8 coin tosses in a row.
No, you don't.
Sorry, I'm having a little stroke. I'll be back with you.
One.
But you know, they cheated him. You know, and then
how do you? I don't have a big opinion on it either way, but how do you feel about? That's like a lot of controversy where Bernie endorsed Hillary, where he was like so the opposite of Hillary.
Well,
how do you?
I think that like he saw the writing on the wall. He knew he wasn't going to make it. He did the grown up thing, and was like, "Well, I'm not going to win."
It's kind of like a career, or just kind of supporting that side against Trump.
I think it took a lot. I mean, I respected him for it. I what was he going to do? Yeah. You know, what was he going to do? Say, no, I'm going to tear the whole thing down. And so no one can lay any blame on Bernie that things went down the way they did, you know? Like there's an argument that, you know, Russia had something to do with it. There's an argument, all the stuff we talked about.
It's like the 80s all of a sudden again.
Well, yeah. But there's a lot of factors, like the whole Anthony Weiner trying to sleep with children, you know, and that somehow was roiled into this. And like the who's the FBI director?
Comey, right?
Yeah, him dropping this vague "she is going to jail" bomb a week before.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of things that kind of, because she was up for a minute there. She was up like 12 points, although that obviously means nothing.
Yeah,
everybody was. It was a shoe-in when we were doing. You came out Tuesday during the election. Yeah. We had a show during the elections, and
I have to admit, was kind of a fun way.
It was sort of fun. Yeah. Well, I was on stage when Barack Obama won.
Yeah.
Whatever, 8 years ago, and when he won, the place went crazy, and I was in the middle of a set. And Barack Obama won on TV, and someone had a TV on, and the place goes nuts. And so I started singing "Lean on Me."
Yeah,
and like everybody got on stage and we're all swaying, and even the rednecks who hated it were like, "Well, whatever." And it was like this beautiful moment. And I had prepared for like, well, if Hillary wins while we're on stage, we'll sing "You Can't Always Get What You Want," you know, but sometimes you get what you need. And so, you know, and at the show we do, sometimes we'll do a little bit at the beginning of the show. And Sean and Gary are the Gregories. They're the musical act that they play the people on and off. And Sean was like, well, what if we, in the middle of the show, announce that Trump won? And it would be funny. And I was like, well, first of all, that's mean. And, you know, and I was like, second of all, no one's going to believe that. You know, because that's, and people will forget in the future that no one saw this coming. It'll, because history will be rewritten 1,000 times, like they did with Reagan. Like, you know, they're going to say, oh, it was this. From the get-go, we had this plan. No, just let's record it now whenever this is time-stamped. Yeah. No one thought he would win. Half the Republicans were against him. They all are going to get in line. I mean, they're all going to start. They're going to get real comfortable with him real quick, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But even his own party was divided over whether they wanted to win. And anyway, we're on stage, and we're kind of like asking. We had Chad Ryden and Mary J. Berger there, kind of at the up to the minute thing. Kind of reading the results, and it's like, oh, well, Trump's ahead a little bit, but I mean, we thought it was gonna. I don't know, man, because the show. I mean, they didn't know until like 3 a.m. that he won.
Yeah,
but the show ended like 10:30 or so. You know, so we didn't know.
Yeah,
but boy, it was a
weird night.
It was a weird night. Yeah. It was a weird vibe in that room, and
especially like for me, because I'm kind of like.
You're
okay with this.
You're the go-to. Well, John, you know, like people see you in the crowd and they're like, well, you're. Yeah. That's another thing is now all these guys, and this is a part of a problem with the way the political system works, where you're either on this side of the line or that side of the line. Now all of a sudden you're responsible for everything Trump says. You have to answer for it. You know,
it kind of felt that way a little bit. That night, you know.
Well, the way that like when people are like, "Hey, your boy Obama with his healthcare stuff," and I'm like, "I didn't like the plan. I think it's terrible." You know, like
Well, it was kind of telling when John shot off that confetti cannon during.
That was
I didn't
unfair.
hit myself in the face though.
It's just these maximum capacity confetti. Well, I can't speak tonight. Let me try again. Take 2. Toy costs. Toy costs. I'm going to wet my whistle and compose myself.
It was an interesting night, though. Just because, well, one thing I had some new jokes prepared that I was going to do, and I remember thinking,
I remember thinking,
I saw some people just kind of just talk about what was going on, and then some people do their jokes, and I saw like, it's kind of awkward, the people that are just doing their jokes. Not that they're bad jokes, it's a little awkward. Like everyone is thinking about the election right now.
Yeah, it was this weird feeling, and I talked about it on stage. Like every time I go up, I'm like, oh boy, it's like it felt like it was like when you were in high school and some guy was going to fight you.
Yeah, that's
like
right.
At the end of the day, and like you had this like kind of knot in your stomach, and like you couldn't really talk or think about anything else because you're thinking about this impending doom.
Mind,
and so you're like, "Hey guys, here's a joke about," no one was into it, and no one was laughing, and everybody was like, "What? Is this happening?"
I was like, I don't know if I'll get a laugh, but I'm just going to talk about the election. I think that's the only thing.
No, you did good. I think. Well, there were also. It was election night. There weren't a whole lot of people out.
Right.
And it was weird that when Obama won the first time, there were people out that night. Yeah. Like it was and it was a mixed crowd.
That reminds me. Something that annoys me that some comics will do is whenever there's something that's big going on in the news, they'll act all like high and mighty, like, "Oh, let's hear all the jokes tonight about this thing." It's like, "Oh, sorry that we talk about something that everyone is thinking about, to get better at comedy." Sorry.
Yeah, there's this weird.
Elitism, kind of.
Well, it's some weird human nature where they think if they identify a thing, they somehow are the master of it, or so, like they beat it, or so, like when people are like
bad because a lot of people do something.
Like just because you accurately identify something, you're an expert, or above it.
I see that with like products sometimes. If there's like some version of something that people really like, and most people agree, like, oh, that's the best one. Yeah. Then the other people will be like, "Oh, they're just drinking the Kool-Aid. They just,
right." Or like on Facebook when, whatever. Let's say next week Donald Trump bites the head off of a toad or something like that. Someone will get on Facebook like, "Oh, here come a bunch of biting toad jokes." Of course.
Yeah, why
Idiot.
not?
I mean, what do you like those brace yourself toad jokes are coming, or it's like. It's like let us have fun.
Yeah.
What do you want?
And plus, it's just like throwaway, kind of stuff. Anyways,
you can't.
I mean, Jimmy Fallon is gonna have. He might have the same joke that you thought.
You know what? Jimmy Fallon's catching heat for Trump.
Oh, is he?
Jimmy Fallon is catching heat for humanizing him. I guess he had him on the show and he kind of tousled his hair and kind of
that was kind of great, a great idea.
Yeah, but I think people are just mad.
Right,
I mean, they're looking for somebody to be mad at. I'm mad, and I feel like it's stupid, and I think people are feeling like kind of shocked, upset. But you want to know? I don't think anyone is feeling disbelief. I don't think anyone, in no significant number of people are like, this doesn't sound like America to me. Like this. Yeah. Everyone's like, yeah, I can see America doing this dumb crap. I mean, I'm trying to cuss so much, but it's like, I believe it. It's like, I don't think there's any cheating because who in the system would cheat to get Trump in? Although maybe that's why it's genius. Maybe you're right the whole time. This is a way to like throw the scent off of how the fix is in.
That's right. Yeah. And it was like, it's a weird, like the way I feel about the Trump thing is it's kind of like Trump winning is kind of like something bad happening that I had no control over, but something that like bad happened, but it like made me money. So I'm kind of like something good for me is going to come out of this. I'm not like, you know what I mean?
I think Trump winning for some people is sort of like someone they hate at work dies. Like, I hope your car crashes, and then it does, and you're like, oh, I didn't really. I mean, I'm glad, but that's maybe too much. Maybe I didn't really mean that.
Yeah. So, I know. It's a weird thing, but I'm trying to be optimistic from maybe both sides. Is like maybe. It will be a good thing because it will make people realize we've got to meet more in the middle on some of these issues.
I'm a pessimistic person. I don't believe that anything that people are good. I don't have that much faith in people I think they were moving a certain way just because it's just the world is going that way. But I don't know that people will learn good lessons. I think people will learn. I mean, like I said, I think that politicians will learn that this is a way to win, to be more and more divisive. And if you stood up and were like, hey, come on, let's work with Trump, you'll be attacked. You won't get any farther, you know?
Yeah.
And
well, one thing too with like, I've seen a lot of stuff on Facebook.
Boy, we're both we both big Latin.
Yeah.
I haven't had anything to drink though. I'm just stupid.
Yeah. Sometimes like in videos, I'll have like a drink like this, and I'll pour like a very small.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm not like a big drinker really.
Yeah.
I like whiskey, and it's more like a taste kind. It's like having a cigar for me.
Yeah.
And people will make comments like that I'm drunk.
Oh.
And I'm just like I just talk like this all the time.
It's how he talks.
Yeah.
He wakes up in the morning. Hey guys, you're like, hey. I talk. You know, if I don't know who knows who Michael Hampton is, look at Coke Hill. Coke Hill's great. Michael Hampton. He's
really
he's a comic. He's a great comic. He's in the movie Boo, Medea. He's a friend of mine, and we do videos and stuff. And when I get drunk, I sound like Michael Hampton. I get drunk because I videotaped myself the other night. Yeah. And if anyone knows who Michael Hampton is, it'd be more funny. But like, I'll get drunk and I'm like, the Pixies are the best band, and I just like to sound like Michael. I can't help it.
I have to get him on here sometime. He's so funny.
Oh God, he's the funniest guy.
I saw some. Well, I feel like this is like all inside talk now. No one knows.
Oh yeah, well,
I'll say
they should know. Everyone should know who Michael Hampton is, and me. No one knows who I am, but you know
they will.
Yeah.
But he posted something on Facebook about when you guys went camping, about going to poop in the woods.
Oh, so he went to poop in the woods. He left with. I have a little shovel, like from the army surplus, which is just a place that sells stuff that isn't from the army.
Yeah, it just looks like it.
And and it's crap. And anyway, he took the little spade out in the woods. He's got like 45 minutes, and I start yelling in the woods. I'm like, "Are you all right?" He's like, yes." I tried to like teach him how to shit in the woods, and I'm like, "You don't have to dig a 4-foot hole in the ground." He's like digging a hole out. And I'm like, just dig a little bit, poop on the ground, then kick some leaves over and stuff. We're in the woods, you know. You don't have to make a latrine.
Put your back against a tree, you know.
Yeah, And I was like, but I did say, okay, if you're just gonna squat, grab up your pants and pull it forward, or you're gonna poop right into your. This guy. My brother went hunting with this guy. I don't want to say his name.
Yeah.
But he had like this. You already know how the story's going to go. He had like one of those Carhartt's one-piece hood onesie things. Yeah. And he was like, "Oh yeah, man, I gotta go." And he ran out into the woods, and he went to the bathroom. And he came back. He got in the truck, and they're like, "What is that? Oh God!" And he had shit in the hood. He had a little backpack full of crap. He hopped back in the car, and that was his clothes. It was all one. It's like that thick fire hose material stuff. It's like, what are you gonna do? Like cut the hood off of your thing, or be naked?
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh. Jeez. Anyway, tip for you guys: if you go out in the woods, just get in your car and drive to a bathroom.
Yeah.
Okay, we're in an hour.
That was like the light.
Oh God, has it been an hour already?
Yeah.
Did we tackle all the issues of the world?
I think we figured it all out.
I wanted to say something since we're on here. Yeah. I wanted to. Now, one thing about Facebook that I've noticed is a whole lot of people, and do what you want. This isn't a judgment, but I have noticed a lot of people are like, I'm deleting all these people on Facebook. Like people who have a different opinion, they delete them. And I think that's part of how we got in this situation is everyone lives in their own little bubble where they only hear what they want to hear.
Yeah.
And they don't want to hear different opinions. And just because I disagree with someone, it doesn't mean I don't want to know what they think. Right. Like when I listen to the radio, I'll listen to NPR, and then I'll switch to the conservative station. And I don't necessarily. I mean, I'm much more will be on the side of the NPR, but like I still want to hear what real people calling in think. You know, because it doesn't really. And I know this sounds pessimistic,
whatever, because someone disagrees. You know.
Yeah, but if you don't have any idea that there even are people who disagree with you because you eliminate them from your sphere, then you never know. I think if we're going to get together on anything, we have to at least have some idea what people are thinking.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's not even in an evil know your enemy kind of way. It's in a, what do people think and why do they think, you know? So I want to say, this isn't a plug. This is, I'm a comic. I'm Brad Edwards. I'm an actor. I'm Brad Edwards. My real name is Brad Edward Prendergast. And if anyone wants to get on Facebook and friend me, I'm sure this is mostly conservative fan base that you have. I'm sure they hate me. But like, but I want to, I mean, it's my last name's PRENDERGAST. That's GAST. And if anyone wants to friend me, I've been trying to, I think there's some algorithm in Facebook where, like, when I get suggestions for friends, it's all comics. Yeah. And I don't think that's everyone.
Because of the mutual.
Right, because we have so many mutual friends. So it's hard for me to find
regular
conservative strangers.
That's why I like, I don't, like for example, I don't know if you knew this or not. I'm not going to say what it is, but I don't use my real name for stand-up.
Yeah, I don't either.
Okay, because my last name is different because, we've had people because of the, come to the house and weird stuff like that. I use a different name. So I don't, the Facebook that I like use back when I was in high school and stuff, I don't even get on there anymore.
Yeah.
So I love the Facebook that I have now because it's split. It's half the comics.
Yeah.
And it's some I know and some I don't know. And the other half is people who, watch the show and stuff. So it's like conservatives and liberals. So I get this, so when I look at, and also it's not people I knew in high school. That makes it so much more fun because it's not like, oh, that's what that guy thinks now.
Right.
It's just people that, I like most of the people on there I don't even know unless it's like you, like local comics.
Yeah.
Well, so it's nice to be able to see the split,
I use a stage name just mainly because Prendergast, for one thing, I didn't want my family to be involved in knowing any of the stuff I did or anything. But like, Prendergast was hard to say. People would introduce me and be like, all right, please put your hands together for Brad and I didn't want to make a whole act out of, like, I didn't want to be another Galifianakis or what, like, I don't want to be another weird name. I was like, so I did what Ray Charles did, because his real name is Ray Robinson in the movie, his real name. His middle name was Charles. I was like, I'll just do my middle name, Edwards. So it's Brad Edwards is the stage name. But just for this once, just so the real world knows, I don't care if anyone goes to Brad Edwards and friends my fan page or whatever. I don't even do anything with it. I don't understand how I'm so old. I don't understand how it works. But yeah, if anyone wants to be a real friend, and don't threaten to kill me or anything, no, or I'll come over to John's house and get one of his knives.
Yeah, got a big one over
there. I'll get. Has you shown the world your knife?
Yeah, they've seen that.
He let me touch it. It was before he remembered that I cut my finger.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I just went with Hickok because that was what the other channel is. And it's funny because my real name...
It suits you.
I feel like it sort of does. And my real name is a much more like Scotch-Irish sounding name, but it's kind of like, I'm not going to say what it really is, but it's I'll tell you after. Know it. But it's like, I constantly have to like spell it out to people.
Yeah.
There's something about it that makes people like, what is that?
Yeah.
So Hickok is nice because it's so...
Hickok. Get it. Edwards, easy. Fletcher. Yeah. Fletcher's Gary's real name, though.
Yeah.
Gary Fletcher, ladies and gentlemen. Look him up on the internet.
Come to his house, knock on his door.
Yeah, he's real. He's more liberal than me, so if you really want to crap on anyone, go after him.
He likes guns, though. At least that's what he told me.
He thinks guns should only be used to abort babies, and I'm against that.
Pro guns and their children.
He likes guns in his virtual reality. All right, now we're rambling on and stuff. I feel like we settled all the problems of the world. I feel better. Yeah. John, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for having me on your show.
It was fun, man.
And being my friend.
Yeah, we're about to go do Jokemon. You're having me on your show.
John is on my show. We were going to go eat. You know what? I didn't tell you this story. I was going to, before your lovely wife brought us delicious barbecue, which was, thank you. That was wonderful. No problem. I was going to suggest we go eat at this taco place, Taco Town. You know where I go, Gary? No, you've been with me. It's called like La Jahalsrian, and I don't know how to say it, so I call it Taco Town. But like yesterday, these guys came in, white guys, Trump's America, and they ordered a bunch of food, and then they ate it, and then they were like, go back to Mexico, and they like threw all the plates on the ground and left without paying. Yeah. Wow. And so I wanted to like go. I tried to go the other day for lunch, but it was packed with people trying to like, because people come after that, people come in and try to tip big, and and I was like, well, we should go there and give them some moral support and all this stuff. But then we got free barbecue, so forget them. They'll be all right.
Yeah.
But we'll go there soon.
Someone else will do it.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the kind of stuff we're trying to fight, guys. People being mean to our Mexicans, all right?
Yeah.
I didn't mean to end on a sad note, but but we did.
I think I feel like the moral of this, of what we talked about, is kind of like, people just don't be assholes to each other.
Come on. It's like if you're fighting with people you don't know, it's like you're falling for it. It's like you're, like somehow there's some conspiracy making us fight each other over a little bit of while they're pulling huge bullshit.
Right.
Exactly. And they have these little divisive issues like, where can a transsexual go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
No one, who cares? Because you're letting banks take over the country, and no one's looking at that because we're focusing on how many bullets can go in a gun or something. You know what I mean? It's like I think that they're making us fight when we should be woke, guys. Woke. Yeah. Be woke.
Yeah, watch
Tippa Floyd. Yeah, watch George Carlin. And
oh man, Ellen, I don't know if you saw my post on Facebook. She stole one of his bits.
What?
At least to me she did. It's not identical, but like Carlin has this great bit that's always been one of my favorites about like everyone always talks about our differences, and he goes through this long like thing, and then he's like, and he gives all these like really silly examples, like, you ever picked up a suitcase and it went, talk about lifting it up, all these different little silly examples of like things that we've all done.
And she just ripped them off.
And then she did the same thing. She was like, this, with Trump, blah blah, people talk about our differences. It's like, you ever go to the shower and do the thing with a towel and blah blah. And it was like, it was a different example, but it was so obviously the exact same like idea.
That's weird.
And where like, if it wasn't Carlin, it'd be one thing.
Yeah.
If it was like I saw some...
There's no way she didn't know.
If I saw like Nate Bargatze do it or something, I'd be like, okay. But George Carlin, one of his classic bits.
Yeah.
How does she not?
Now that you mention it, there's another weird story. I know everybody loves Amy Schumer, and I'm not saying anything against Amy Schumer because I want to have a career.
Yeah.
But Amy Schumer was on Ellen doing an Ellen bit to Ellen. It was so weird. Like, Ellen has this bit, it's an old bit, about going to the movies and eating popcorn. And how, like, you eat all this popcorn and it falls on you. And it's a funny bit.
Yeah.
Amy Schumer, I guess, had done it and then was on her show doing, hey, have you ever gone to the movies and you're eating popcorn? And Ellen's, like, laughing at him. Like, this is insane. She's hacking you in front of you.
That's weird.
It was either they were in on some weird joke or something, but it was nothing that... It was a thing that only a comic nerd who like knew everyone's bit ever would know.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was really weird. So maybe she's got some meta.
I don't know. That's something I
way to look at it or something.
Like, I throw out so much stuff because I'm just like, somebody has done that.
Yeah. Well, I'll do a bit and then I'll see someone on TV do it. And I know they didn't steal it. They just thought of the same thing.
Yeah.
And on the one hand, I'm like,
happens.
Yeah. And on the one hand, you're like, well, at least I'm as funny as Stephen Colbert's writers or something. Yeah. But if it's like, but also, like, a lot of the jokes you'll hear at an open mic about some event are going to end up being the same joke. You know what I mean? Like when they're talking about, hey, they're going to, in the next Hermione, or in the next Harry Potter, they're going to make Hermione black or something. Like, black magic. There's going to be some joke like that. That's because that's just sort of an obvious place for it to go.
Topical jokes are a minefield anyways,
Yeah, so unless you do something weird, goofy stuff, it's like right at the end we start talking about comedy.
Yeah, I know.
It's like we saved all the fun for the very end.
Yeah, really.
Well, Trump was in America and guns and stuff. Hey guys, here's a funny one. Here's a zinger for you.
Well, like, I know we got to get out of here, but one last thing I'll say, like, on that same note, just the other day, after Trump got elected, I had this idea that I thought was funny, and I was trying to decide. I didn't even think of like if someone had it. I was just thinking like, is this going to be like come across too racist? Because it was funny to me. I
already know the answer.
Okay. I was like, now that Trump is president, can we have the Confederate flag back on Dukes of Hazzard? I was like, I know that's funny, but like I don't know if that worked. So get this. I just so happened to turn on. Gary was watching earlier. The End of the World podcast that Rogan was doing with all those. It's like 3 hours long. I just picked a random spot in it. Like, okay, let's see what they're talking about here. Sure enough, Rogan goes, "Can we have the Confederate flag back on Dukes of Hazzard?"
Oh, dude!
And I was just like, "Wow, I dodged a bullet."
Well, I was talking to somebody about like the saddest part, one of the many saddest parts of the Hillary Clinton campaign. Excuse me, is they had prepared, and this may or may not be true, this may just be a story. They had prepared a special effect for when she won, for when they announced that she won, where they'd have like this, like, I don't know if it was laser, what it was going to be a glass ceiling shattering. And it's like, to me, it was just so sad to make the phone call, like, we're not gonna do the glass. It's like you ever go on a date and like you took a Viagra and you got a condom in your pocket and you're all ready to go, and then you just end up going home by yourself and you like look at this condom and you're like, that's like the glass ceiling guys are like, man,
let's do it anyway.
Can we just do the glass ceiling? It's like, no, instead we're gonna lower the glass ceiling about 10 feet. But I was listening to the Opie channel or whatever, and they were talking about the glass ceiling. I was like, well, I can't talk about. Well, I guess I did on a podcast. I can't talk about the thing I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But oh man, jeez, what a sad world.
Yeah.
Thinking that would be funny if they had a bunch of balloons and they dropped as soon as they said everybody should go home.
I've heard like 3 or 4 people. And I think this was on where they were talking about they'd have Hillary come up and then just dump Carrie blood on her. Or something. Like, oh, you won, you did it. Oh, poor Hillary. I guess. I mean, she's awful too. Oh, yeah. I didn't. That was the thing. We get put in this position when you have to like act like you love someone who's terrible. I didn't like her.
Even if like 10% of all the WikiLeaks and all the email stuff is true, it's still. Pretty bad.
Of course it's true. How can you get anywhere in politics without being evil? Anybody. Yeah. I mean, you're looking for a job to be president. Presidents murder people. I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Why do we even need president? All right, we're going to have a whole other podcast. Yeah, we got to get to the show.
I'll have you on again, for sure.
Oh, thank you. And everybody, check out Jokimon Comedy Combat Battle. I don't know how you could. I don't know how you could possibly do that, but do it anyway because it's gonna be great.
Yeah,
and you're gonna be great, and I'm so excited to have you on my show.
It'll be fun. I'm excited about it. And thanks, Gary, for running the board.
Gary,
yeah, man, we'll do it again. And maybe next time we'll have somebody else back there and
someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah,
I
know.
Have you showed your baby to the internet yet?
Yeah.
That's a cute baby.
Yeah, someone gave me a hard time for holding him wrong. So he said he's not a rifle. You can't prop him up like that.
Oh, you like spitting on people?
I was like holding him like so they could see him. So he's not a rifle.
This is a good one. John, before we started, John's like holding the baby with one arm and fixing all the electronics and stuff in the room, and the baby like falls asleep. It's like every other baby. Oh, my daughter had colic, and John just throws his baby over his shoulder. Okay, anyway.
All right. Well, thanks, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It was fun.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Do you record any of that, Gary?